Here we go. Okay, well, welcome. My name's Sharon Vogler, and I serve as the Director of Alumni and MBA Career Development for the School of Business. I am super excited to welcome four of my personal favorite students that I worked with while they were in school at Wake Forest, who are now doing some really amazing things out there in the world of media and entertainment. And so I've got some questions that I'm going to ask the panelists to kick us off and to keep the panel moving. But I highly encourage all of our participants to participate and ask questions. You can do it one of two ways. You can drop a question in the chat. I'm going to do my best to keep an eye on that chat. And you can also go off mute if we come up for air and try and ask them a question while we're going through the answers. And then I will save some time at the end for some more organic Q&A. Sound good? All right, well, let's get started. All right. Chastity, since you were the first one to say yes, I'm going to get you to kick us off and tell us, of course, where you're working, where you're living, what you're doing, and your affiliation with Wake Forest.
Okay. I'll start out first. I am a recent graduate, I guess recent, last year, 2023 graduate of the MSBA program at Wake Forest. Um, so that's my affiliation. And I am currently working with Sony Music Entertainment. I am a data science and analytics trainee, and I primarily work in New York. I live in New Jersey. But a part of my program is 6 months in London. So I'm currently in London.
That's so cool. That's so
Yeah,
cool. And so where
What the
did you
heck?
do,
I want that.
right?
I know.
Where did you do your undergrad, Chastity? Tell everybody
Oh
what
yes, I
your
did
was.
my undergrad right down the road in Greensboro at North Carolina A&T State University. So yeah, I went from A&T in Greensboro to Wake Forest in Winston-Salem.
And what was your major in undergrad?
My major was accounting.
Accounting to analytics and media.
Hmm.
I love it. All right,
Hmm.
Morgan, same questions.
Hey everyone, I'm Morgan. I'm class of, what is it, 2016 in the MSM program. So I am with TikTok here in Austin, Texas, and I am a senior advertising account manager. So I help mid-market clients do their advertising on TikTok, come up with creative content. We do strategy, a lot of digital marketing. And what was the other question? I'm sorry, Sharon.
What your major was in your undergrad?
Okay, so I was an economics major and I went to undergrad in Atlanta at Agnes Scott College.
Agnes Scott College. Wonderful. Okay, Liz.
We'll see. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Liz Jones, oh gosh, I'm gonna say what year I graduated. 10 years ago, 2014. It's kind of crazy to think about. I now work at Warner Brothers Discovery in Atlanta. I'm part of the HBO content accounting team. So we do the accounting for um, all the original programming. Don't know if you guys have ever heard of Game of Thrones or House of the Dragon, Succession Industry, White Lotus. Those are our guys. So pretty exciting stuff. We also do the accounting for anything that we acquire from third-party studios that air on Max, which is our D2C platform, and on the HBO linear channels that you can get through your cable providers. So
That's so
cool
cool.
stuff. Oh,
So
and I went
far,
to undergrad. Yeah.
yeah. Go ahead. Undergrad.
Went to undergrad at Berry College in Rome, Georgia, Northwest Georgia. Studied French and accounting.
Awesome. For so far, I'm 3 for 3 as a consumer of your products. Okay, Sarah.
Hi everyone, I'm Sarah Simonetti. I live in San Jose, California, and I work for a company called Rakuten. We do cash back on everything you shop for, and during the holidays, it's the best time to sign up. So everyone should try and
We're
sign
gonna
up.
all sign up.
Um, I am a director of creative strategy on our brand and creative team. So I work with folks like Morgan on the growth side. So everything off platform, any sort of advertising you see my team is touching from Rakuten. So I work on everything from Super Bowl campaigns to our holiday TV spots to the digital ad that you receive while you're scrolling people.com. It's been really fun. I also graduated in 2014 from Wake Forest undergrad. I was a psychology and comms double major, and then I stayed at Wake and did the MA program at the time, but now MSM management.
MSM,
Yeah,
yeah.
MSM. Graduated 2015, and gold and black runs deep in my family. And my brother did the business analytics program 3 years after me, 2017.
We'll
No,
call
I
it
don't.
3 years. It seems like it was more than that.
No, it was more than that. It was more than that because it was COVID. So
Yeah.
2020 actually.
Yes.
Um, so yeah.
And your dad went to
And
what?
my dad went to Wake. Yeah. But that was like whatever, 1980.
Still black and gold deep in those
Black and
veins.
gold. That's
Well,
us.
let's stay with you because I think all four of you have a very interesting story because I mean, other than Chastity, this isn't your first job out of school. And so Sarah, if you can talk everybody through your career trajectory, right? And so you graduated from the MSM and then what happened?
Oh my God, 10 years ago. No, I'm just kidding. So I always use this advice that Sharon, you actually gave me, and I tell grads and people looking for jobs. So my career started, there's like the rule of three. And if you get two of these three, you're like very lucky. So you look for the role, the location, and the company. So for me, I had moved back to California pretty last minute. I had like my eyes and heart set on New York, but then had to move home. And so I had to start my network and like job search all from scratch after graduation. And so for me, I ended up, my first role was in recruiting at LinkedIn. So for me, it was not necessarily the role. I always wanted to be in marketing, but it was the company and it was the location. So I thought, okay, I'm going to try out LinkedIn. I'm going to try out recruiting, see if I can network in-house, see if I can like get some boots on the ground working the Bay Area, and then ended up going to a bunch of like lunch and learns and all of these things. So got connected to my first advertising agency job in the Bay Area. So then was on the agency side. I was at two different agencies, and then in 2021 came over to Rakuten. So started very different recruiting. I have such respect for recruiters, recruiting coordinators, all of it. I know how tough that job is and how demanding it is. So if you're trying to go that route, like that's amazing. Was not for me. And worked my way up into agency life and then moved over to do in-house marketing.
Was Rakuten a customer of yours at the agency? How did you broker that deal with Rakuten?
It's a great question. One of my first bosses at my first agency ended up going over to Rakuten, and I had stayed in touch with her and a bunch of other coworkers. So it's all about like feeding your network, and not in like a gross cheesy way, but keeping up with connections and all of that. And so she actually reached out to me before the job was posted and said, I think it's time for you to come over. And I was like, yeah, please, I'm ready. So I moved, and plus my client range was so large. I had never worked really in e-com or retail. I was very traditional CPG, like food and beverage, vitamins. I worked on Greyhound buses and transportation and cars with Mitsubishi and Mini Cooper. And at the time, I was working on California state health insurance called Covered California. And that was my main client. And it was a wild ride, learned a lot, but I was ready to move on from that. Now working in e-com and it's so much fun.
And do you work in a remote modality or are you hybrid? What's that look like for you?
I'm technically fully remote. It is very rare these days in our world. My whole office is like you have to be in the office 3 days a week, or my whole team, you have to be in 3 days a week. But I was grandfathered in because I live San Jose and San Francisco are pretty far from each other. So I try to go in once a week. But technically fully remote, which I'm like hanging on to dear life for.
How far is that commute for you?
Oh God. On the train, it's like an hour and a half. from door to door. And then if I drive, it's like 2 hours one
Oh,
way.
ouchie. Yeah.
Miserable. Yeah,
That's a far. That's far, far away.
that's far.
Far, far away. All right,
Yeah.
Liz, walk us through. You graduated with an accounting degree from Wake Forest, and then what happened?
So I guess my journey actually started midway through my Wake Forest experience. The school set me up with a internship. It was actually during Snowmageddon in Atlanta, if anybody recalls that situation. I was the intern running around trying to get Chick-fil-A sandwiches for my whole team before they all started the 20-hour commutes home. But no, it was really great. I worked at EY as an intern, returned to them full time after graduating. I was there for 7 years, had an amazing experience working in public accounting as an auditor, worked on a lot of great clients, a lot of really interesting transactions, had the opportunity to travel a lot across the US and also internationally. Yes, remember Snowmageddon. Um, so yeah, I mean, got to go to India, worked in the Netherlands for 3 months, worked in London for 2 years, came back, was here for about a year, and started having some real conversations with people both in the firm and outside of the firm about, what did I want out of my career? Where did I see myself? And I'd asked myself that question, I think, a lot over the 7 years that I was at EY. And every time up until then, it had been, no, there's still opportunities here. There's still things I want to accomplish here. But I will say the international experience in London really kind of opened my eyes and changed my perspective a little bit. And I think the firm knows that because there's a lot of attrition after global exchange programs. But basically, came back and said, I think I need to get some experience outside of public accounting. I need to be part of management and really understand what that's like. Because as an auditor, you probably only see about 10% of what your client management team is doing. And so I had an opportunity come to me. I got to be a controller of a technology company that supports digital evidence management for first responders and law enforcement. Got to be their controller for a year. Came in, improved a bunch of their processes, got them really in a position where the way the business was growing quickly, the accounting wasn't quite keeping up. And so I tried to help get the accounting up there. And then, like Sarah was saying, you never know how that network is going to come back and support you. And so I had another colleague of mine from EY who had since left EY, was working at Discovery, and said, hey, we've just merged with Warner Media. We're opening a position in Atlanta in our group. Think you'd be really great for it. You should apply. And so I applied and I was lucky enough to get the opportunity. And that got me in the door at Warner Brothers Discovery. And so I was in that role. It wasn't quite accounting, but it was accounting adjacent. And it let me really learn about the media business because I knew nothing about it up until this point. So I got to learn it in a bit of a safe and comfortable environment. And then May of this year, I moved over to the HBO Content Accounting Group and been loving it ever since.
Wow. So the networking never stops, does it?
Nope.
Never,
And it's
ever.
never like, it doesn't have to be an intentional. I mean, it's getting to know colleagues. It's, having a coffee with somebody once a year, even, or once a quarter, if you're in the same city, if you can, and just staying in touch with people. And you never know, like, it's also just about being able to help somebody else with their opportunity, which I feel like 10 years out, I look back and I'm thinking, wow, I actually have helped a fair number of people. And
Yeah.
that feels good, but
And
also knowing that it helps me too.
it does. Well, it does, and it's about your brand, right? And
Mhm.
the legacy. Even when you leave a company, the legacy that you leave behind, you never know when that's going to pay dividends.
Yep.
So I love the threads throughout both of your comments. So Morgan, you left MSM, wanted to be
Yes.
a consultant.
Badly. I wanted to be a consultant so badly. And I ended up going to a company called Protivity where I did more of like auditing consulting. And I hated it. I didn't like it first starting off. And it was just different from what I expected. And one thing that I've learned throughout my career is pivot, pivot, pivot. And so I ended up doing that for about a year. And I was like, you know what? I think it's time for something different. And I ended up starting my journey with startups. And so I ended up going to a shipping startup as an account executive. I was good at pitching a software. I was good at talking to people, and that's what I had missed in the auditing part. So this was the first time I got to be client facing. And with startups, there's a lot of chaos and there's no rules just yet. And we got to make up different pathways to do things. And I became really good at that. I became a senior account executive and brought in quite a few clients. And through the network, someone from my company of the shipping startup actually left to go to Uber corporate. And they were like, do you want to come with me to the strategic partnerships? You're good at pitching the value of a platform. Why not do it on a different scale? So I became a strategic partnerships manager at Uber and got to work on initiatives like Chicago Restaurant Week through the app and partner with different local restaurants. Learned a lot about just the technology itself, the product. Was able to do push notifications with marketing. I even like partnered with the CEO, Dara, if you guys know Uber CEO, and got to, pitch the idea of Chicago Restaurant Week during the pandemic when no one was really eating out, and bringing that money to restaurants was super rewarding. And it was something that had a hand in. So it's just one of my proudest moments. And Uber was one of the greatest experiences. I spent 2.5 years there, and actually TikTok ended up sliding in the LinkedIn DMs and kind of was like, hi, we saw the work you've done. We're going to start monetizing our app. And I was like, the dance app, TikTok? You guys are
Dance
doing
app.
what? The dance app? Because that's what it was back in
Yeah,
2020. We remember TikTok. We were
right.
all.
Yeah.
So I ended up, kind of hearing them out and seeing what their vision was for the app moving forward. And I really loved it. So I started there in 2021 and have been there ever since, and have moved around, worked with media clients from like the well, not media, I guess sports, LA Chargers. I've worked with Kevin Hart's company. And I've worked with big brands like Revolve and doing just different types of marketing. And TikTok Shop is new, and that's one thing I'm working on now. So I would say my journey is about pivot. Keep pivoting. If you are getting tired of something, or if you're ready to challenge yourself even more, you can always do something new.
And so your network brought you to Uber, like your
Mm-hmm.
personal connection with someone, and then
Yep.
your ability to show up online on our favorite networking app, LinkedIn, got you
Yep.
the gig with TikTok. I love it. I'm a new
Mm-hmm.
TikToker,
Welcome.
and I love the TikTok shop so much. I
I,
got practice today.
I fall for it every time. I fall
Every
for it
time.
every
I'm
time.
terrible. I got a couple things in my cart too. Yeah, super fun. Love it. All right,
Thanks for putting me
Chastity, our
into it.
newest babe out of MSBA. You originally wanted to be an accountant, and then you're like, maybe not. Then what happened?
Yeah, so it was actually, I think the pandemic that did it for me. Yeah, I was in my accounting curriculum. And then I think I realized I was like, I don't think I really want to do this, but I had to see it through. And so that's what I did. And I actually had applied to Sony Music for their finance rotation, and I got all the way to the end and I didn't get it. And then I had given up a job with Paramount during that time as well because I was still in the running for the Sony position. And once I didn't get that, I was like, well, what do I do? Well, I can go back home and I can go to 10 minutes down the street and I can go to Wake Forest. I can always go to Wake Forest. And so that's what I decided to do. I applied to the program, and I think the first interaction that I had with someone at Sony was through LinkedIn. I reached out, I did a cold message to somebody, and uh, the employee, she was a finance rotation trainee. She got back in touch with me and she recommended me to one of the recruiters. And that's how I was able to build a rapport with the Sony, recruitment team and everybody there. Um, and then, did the MSBA program. And then I came back around, used my connections there, and I was able to make something happen.
And so you left Winston-Salem, North Carolina for the big city.
Yes.
New York City. We're so proud of her. All right, well, let's stay with you and we'll go back in the reverse order with this question. Tell us about some projects that you're working on. Like, what do you do every day? What can someone who aspires to work for your firms look forward to in the daily grind of what you do every day? And maybe tell us about some projects you're working on.
Okay. Yeah, so at Sony there's a lot of moving parts. So with my program, I'm in the third rotation. So I've been a part of three teams at this point. And what I've been able to recognize is that each team, they work with like the data in different parts. Like some teams may touch a certain amount of certain types of data that the other team doesn't. But as a trainee, I'm able to see a holistic view and how it all works together. And so I think with working at Sony, you really get a chance to see the behind the scenes view of the industry and just how everything may not be as uh, organic, sorry to say, but everything may not be as organic as it seems, or it might not be as effortless as it seems. There's a lot of data-driven um, decisions that are being made, whether that be from an artist to Spotify to TikTok to anybody, and how we interact with each other. And so for me, some of the projects I've worked on are like looking at how Sony is performing on TikTok in the last 6 months, or how our catalog, which is music that has been released 24 months, this like 2 years, a year and a half to 2 years old and prior, how that music is compared to music that's been released in the last 6 months or the last year. And really just looking at our performance and seeing how we can optimize our relationships with all these DSPs, which is like Spotify, Apple, all the people
Streamers.
that you
Yeah.
go to, yeah, the streamers that you go to listen to music. And yeah, so I think that's probably one of the most interesting things I've been able to see.
Can you tell
Um,
who's the most popular artist that you represent at Sony?
Beyonce
Beyonce.
and
Awesome.
Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
Sony and Beyonce. That's very
And
cool.
Adele and Harry Styles.
I mean, you probably go on and on. It's so interesting.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to move on to Morgan, but I'm going to come back and I want you to talk about and think about the kind of technology you use every day to do your work. So, Morgan, tell us about what you do every day and what people when they think about working at TikTok, what can they think about?
So I have a set of clients, and right now we're looking to try and get our apparel and accessory clients using TikTok Shop. We want them to gain revenue. We want them to figure out how to create content, advertising to Gen Z and millennials. How do we get people to buy from TikTok Shop? And so what we're looking at is, are they adopting our products? Are they adopting our marketing tools? Do people want to buy Nordstrom's from us? Do they want to buy Revolve from us? How do we best place ourselves in front of the right audience? And that's a big one. I think everybody here knows, like Chastity said, nothing's like necessarily organic. And so trying to figure out how do we get in front of the right audience to have that return on investment. So I'm working with clients every day, proofreading their like copy, looking at their content. Does it sound like TikTok? Are you in trend with what's happening? It's a lot of upkeeping of the trends. And then are you, price points, anything like that? So that's one of the biggest projects that is we call it P0, most important thing we're working on this year. And
P0.
we call it P0. And we've got Black Friday coming up, the deals, everything. So go to that TikTok shop
I'm ready.
little tab.
I'm going to tie it to my Rakuten. I'm going to make all kinds of money. Yeah.
That's where you'll see my work,
Who
right?
who are your clients? Did you mention some of them already? Nordstrom's and Revolve, yeah.
So Revolve for sure. And then for the sports clients, like LA Chargers, we've got the Phoenix Suns. We're looking at how do we sell tickets. We've got a lot of artists in my book as well, where we're looking at Ticketmaster integrations, where can you purchase tickets from our app? We're a music
Wow.
app. Why not be able to purchase tickets?
Wow.
So yeah.
Interesting. Especially with all the Ticketmaster issues we all deal with every day. It's full circle. All this is full
Oh
circle.
yeah, you'll pull your hair out trying to like fit with them. But the thing that's really cool is this kind of universal integration of all these like apps that we use and how they come together, going from TikTok to Ticketmaster to buy something and
Very
tracking
cool.
that through data.
So Liz, what kind of stuff are you accounting for there at HBO? Is it down to the like this actor submitted an invoice for their face products that they bought on the TikTok shop?
Can be. It can be. So um, we spend a lot of time making sure that the accounts that we set up for the different productions are accumulating the cost correctly for those shows. So it's a little bit nuanced in accounting, but not all costs that you incur on a show can be included as part of that show and turned into an asset at the end of the day. So we have to monitor that. We're also just comparing it to what was established as the budget. Uh, when you think about the HBO shows that we put on, like Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon, um, Righteous Gemstones, White Lotus, like these are multi-location shoots, multiple months in shooting, multiple months in post-production. It's a lot of costs incurred. It's not just direct costs associated with production, it's also costs associated with the talent. So we have a lot of term deals with directors and writers and certain key actors, basically to keep them engaged and kind of getting a little bit of exclusivity rights with them as well. Um, so it's a lot of and I mean I don't know how many of you guys have seen us in the news. We've been in the news a little bit. Our CEO is a little polarizing sometimes, but um, but that's also kind of the nature of this Hollywood business and media as well. And so part of our job right now in accounting is just making sure that we're getting the numbers right. Whatever they are, they are.
Good
That's
or
kind of
bad?
for the finance team to deal with. But yeah, it's on us at the end of the day to make sure that the numbers, what we're presenting to the public, to our shareholders, they're right. And so that's presented some challenges recently, just because there is so much pressure from the market on our company. And so you've the old adage of you've got to spend money to make money kind of situation. I mean, that's perfectly represents our business. We have to commit to the content, but we also have to commit to the right content. And it's very hard to predict, what's going to do well and what isn't. So like Beetlejuice just released earlier, and Joker 2 just released, and last year Barbie released, and Barbie killed it and Joker is not so much killing it. But we invested in somebody like Lady Gaga with the expectation of that would draw in a crowd. And it has to an extent. But again, I guess our side is just making sure that we're on top of it when it comes to the costs of producing, so that we're giving the team that's doing the monetization of the content all the information they need to know how profitable are they, and using that information on greenlighting productions going forward. So it's interesting to get to kind of see behind the scenes and the greenlighting and the analysis that comes with it as you're going of like, okay, well, like, we're in the middle of Fiji and we're gonna capture an entire like we're gonna take over a whole island and we're gonna film White Lotus. I'm like, how's this gonna work? Um,
Expensive
you
is that
know,
going to be?
exactly. Yeah, are we gonna get the return on it that we're expecting? So
Again,
um,
sounds messy and it doesn't sound organic. And it sounds like you need to be, sounds like both Chastity and Morgan and yourself are all trying to figure messy things out and solve problems. It's not easy and it's not glamorous.
and using
Sometimes it
data
might
to
be
do it.
yeah, yeah. Sometimes
Yeah,
it
it's
might be
big on
glamorous.
data.
Other times it might not be that glamorous. All right, Sarah, what's going on over at Rakton? How can we sign up? Tell us what we need to do.
Similar to Morgan, it's, Q4 holiday season. We need people shopping. For those who are not familiar with Rakuten, we're basically an affiliate partner is what we call it. So we don't actually sell any products, we provide cash back at all of the places that you normally shop. So I guarantee you, like any brand or store or anything that you can think of, everything from Neiman Marcus to Temu to Shein to Victoria's Secret, like anything, we're offering cash back. And a part of that is we sell our audience data to these stores and to these brands to say, hey, like if you sell with us, if you advertise with us, we can put you in front of X amount of people based on these affinity audiences and all of that. We also sell like all of the placements on our website because again, we're not selling products, we're selling cash back at all of these brands. So the holiday season is the biggest time of year. I launched like not I, my team, including myself, we launched our big holiday campaign last week, which was like what we planned for all year. So now we just sit and watch and we optimize. So I partner as a creative strategist, partner very closely with our growth and media team on the performance side. So people like on Morgan's team, where we work with our agency partners to say like, you know, what ads are performing better than others, what influencers are performing better than others. Let's optimize towards that. Have to be really nimble during this time because this is when we make all of our money. The other side of the business that I work on is all of our sports and entertainment partnerships. So if anyone's a fan of basketball and the Warriors, you probably have seen the jerseys, and Rakuten is on the jersey. So we're the jersey badge sponsor of the Warriors, which also means we advertise and partner with people like Stephen Curry. So because the holiday season is the biggest time of year for us as well, we want to capitalize on our partnership with him. So he's going to be launching. When does this go live? When does this YouTube? When does this happen?
It can be whenever you tell me to go live.
Okay, in the next couple of weeks.
It will probably be before then.
Yeah, in the next couple of weeks. But something really cool because Stefan is an awesome partner and he's someone who is really passionate about what he does. And so we are to insert ourselves into the conversation, and working with him, we always find shared values. So what we're launching now is sponsoring some of his tunnel fits. So we have a big campaign to elevate underrepresented Black and Brown designers who are sold at larger retailers. So someone like Seyfuddin, who's offered at Mr. Porter, as an example, Stefan will be wearing some of those items in his tunnel fit, and then you're going to be able to shop the look through Rakuten and get cash back so that you can add those designers to your closet. So stuff like that, where it's just like a lot of layers, and we want to make sure Rakuten doesn't get lost in it. So yeah, a lot of stuff happening during the holidays. A lot.
Well, thanks for taking the time. I know it is a crazy time. But so again, did Rakuten start out as like a data company? Like you said you provide data to these brands. So if I shop at their store, is it all e-commerce, or do I go to the actual store and shop and get cash back? I mean, and you're providing that store data.
So it's a great question. If everyone remembers Ebates, Rakuten, which is a Japanese-based company, came to the US and bought a handful of companies, one of them being Ebates. So that's why it's cashback to this day. Our like proprietary information is our data. So we don't sell that data. We're not like third party like selling that out. We basically are saying our data is ours, but let's say you want to put your advertising in front of a very like dedicated audience. So Sharon, you're shopping Belk, and Belk comes to us and we're like, okay, well, Sharon maybe has never shopped Belk, but here are all of the other stores that she shops. She shops at Bloomingdale's and Macy's and Nordstrom. So we know that she's going to be more likely to probably shop at Belk. So we're going to put a Belk ad in front of her. But you're a part of that audience essentially. So we're not selling the data. But that's how we essentially like make our money. So the stores pay us to send them shoppers, and then we split and share that money with our customers basically as cash back.
And so it's like digital marketing kind of stuff. Very cool. All right. So same question. I'm going to go back around the same way. Sarah, like I know I always ask what kind of skills people need, right? Well, we know communication skills, we know collaboration skills. And for those of you who are participating as students or alumni, know those are always going to be needed skills, right? Your ability to think through problems, think critically, collaborate and communicate, storytell, all those important, right? And it's always the same answer. But I want to focus on maybe some of the things that they can go out and learn, right? So, like more technical skills. Like if you knew this really well or knew things like this, it would be helpful for you in this space. Sarah?
I can't think of like something so particular. I think like understanding, for me, it was making sure I was really familiar with performance metrics, like things like click-through rate and engagement rate, and understanding how all of those work together. And in my world, it's all about the cost per sign up. So like how much does it cost for us to sign up one person? Sometimes, and depending on what kind of placement it is, so like a video ad is probably going to have a super high cost per versus a very low funnel, like get this coupon now, right, is going to be a much lower cost per. So understanding how those all work together. I am sure in my life I have taken so many LinkedIn learning courses. But it also was just like talking to a lot of people. So in my that year at LinkedIn, and then when I first entered the agency world, it was just talking to people who were media buyers and understanding, and like a lot of those like data analytics people, talking to them about how they set up campaigns and understanding, based on this objective, like what are our KPIs, and then how are we going to adjust and optimize throughout the campaign. One thing that I feel like very tactical, our work offers a lot of like similar LinkedIn learning courses. No matter where I've been, no matter what job, and I think for the rest of my career, presentation, writing, like how to build a deck, how to present to a large group of people, how to succinctly explain results and why it matters and the impact and what to do next. I think presentation skills have been the most important thing, and something that I'm still working on and is still in my yearly objectives every year. Like get better, be stronger, present in front of larger audiences, present to our CEO, present to, Stephen Curry's team, like all of those things. In the last 10 years, and things we were doing at Wake to, large audiences and to clients, I'm still doing today, and I think is the most important. So the question was what courses or what to do. Anything having to do with presentation skills, writing, strategy, deck, anything like that, I would jump on. I think if you're able to do that early in your career, it would be so beneficial.
And there are some LinkedIn learning courses out there for digital marketing, that click-through stuff, SEO,
Sure.
like
Yeah,
search
absolutely.
engine optimization. I don't necessarily think they're teaching that in the classroom. Maybe they are, maybe they're not. I'm not sure. If you had a digital marketing class, I would hope that they would. But any of those things, I'm sure could be really helpful. Okay, Liz, what kind of stuff do you use every day?
Okay, my obvious go-to answer is Excel.
Excel?
I live and die in Excel as an accountant. I work with large data sets. So there's very little that I do in Excel where I touch a mouse. I've learned almost all the shortcuts I need to. I've learned almost all the formulas I need to. I understand them. I understand what they do. I can do them on the fly. So when I'm in a meeting with our CAO or one of our SVPs, finance, and they give me data and they're trying to get to an answer, like Sarah's mentioning in a presentation, it's nice to have the ability to like prepare for it, but then sometimes questions come up on the fly. And so I've become a go-to person for my manager and his manager and their manager to be able to be in the meeting in the background, and they can ask a question and within 5 minutes I can come up with the answer. So I found that to be very valuable. It's kind of put me in a room that I probably otherwise wouldn't be in, to hear some conversations that I otherwise wouldn't be able to hear firsthand. So that's been pretty valuable. It's also fun to like do it in front of people and they're like, what'd you just do? And I'm like,
Sorcery.
Yeah, I can't
Got
even
the
like tell
Excel
you. I
430
can't even
going
like
there.
slowly think through what I just did. I've just done it.
And you taught
Um,
yourself how to do that just by trial and error and just getting in the weeds of it.
yeah, I mean, 7 years at EY, all of the clients with large data sets, and we had to analyze them. And this was before a lot of our data analytics tools were built. So I kind of I knew something that I needed to do. Actually, so that's the other skill. So Excel being my technical skill, but the other skill I think people should really work on is um, get really good at research and researching quickly. So, you know, understanding what you have a question about well enough to be able to search for those keywords in Google or whatever encyclopedic source you're going to be using. Um, Being able to quickly find the answer to the question that's being asked, I think that's a pretty valuable skill set because your time quickly becomes scarce in a day. And so if there is something that you need to research, being able to get to some good material um, to help you get to a good answer is a pretty valuable skill, I think.
Critical
At
thinking.
least in my life it is.
Critical thinking. Critical
Yep.
think. Figure it out. I can figure it out. All right,
Yep.
Morgan.
Hey, okay, so I'm kind of echoing a little bit off of Sarah because we do something very similar. But learning just kind of like return on investment, learning the different marketing funnels. So looking at upper funnel, lower funnel, conversion. Um, Digital marketing was not a course when we were at Wake Forest. So it's something that we definitely had to learn on the fly. Even before I started TikTok, I took just like a little crash course on LinkedIn as well as like a Google crash course just to familiarize myself with any digital marketing terms. They're interchangeable across whether you work for Meta, Twitter, well, X, TikTok, Snap. If you work for any type of digital marketing, you guys have clients that all want the same things, and you'll hear those terms at whatever company you're at. Another thing is like if a client says I have $1 million that I want this amount of views, it's going to cost me $5 a view, making sure you understand how to do that quick math and show that data of what the campaign resulted in. So just kind of, it's kind of basic math, but learning how to just make sure everything is data driven. That's one thing with digital marketing. I know the creative side is like fun and it seems very flashy, but there has to be data behind it. And that's what you'll learn as you start to work. Yeah, that's pretty much. So I know Sarah said a lot of it.
That's okay. It's good. It's good. They'll see the trends. This is not flashy, sexy work all the time.
Right.
Okay,
And being
Chastity, what you're doing something a little bit more data driven. Are you using any advanced data analytics tools, data
Uh,
analytic tools, or is it Excel?
Well, it is Excel, but then we take it a step further. We use a tool called Alteryx, which is basically a data manipulation tool. And I will say if you know SQL, you pretty much can figure out how to use Alteryx. But because I am in a trainee program, it's not expected for me to know Alteryx. And so I would say that the main thing to be more well versed in is if you're, going into a data-driven, position would be to know the basics and the foundation of SQL, SQL, and Excel.
Excel for life.
Yes.
Do you see that Sheets? I don't think it's as good as Excel.
No. Google
No.
Sheets? No, no. No.
You got a lot of work to do to be as good as Excel. All right, fantastic. Well, I don't want to run out of time. And so I know that each one of these alums, they're on LinkedIn. That's how they got invited to participate in this panel. So I'm sure they'll take any kind of invitation to connect with them on LinkedIn if you want to learn more about their company and what they do. And then every single one of these firms represented have lots and lots of jobs. Like it was hard for me to swim through all of the jobs. There were so many jobs. And I did see some pretty interesting entry level jobs as well. Like the one Chastity's doing, it's rotational programs are very popular. And especially for our undergrads and recent pre-experienced students to consider internships instead of going right into a full-time job. Usually they do matriculate into full-time employment. But I'll open up the floor for any questions anyone have. You can drop it in the chat or you can go off mute and ask your question. Anyone? Now's your chance. Anyone?
Can I ask a question?
You can.
Okay. So this is for any of the panelists. Um, what was the one thing that's happened to you since you left Wake that surprised you the most, that you weren't really expecting or felt that you were fully prepared for, that if you could go over, do it again, spend more time in this class or spend more time, preparing, however, what might you do differently, if anything?
Good question.
I am such a proponent for stuff like this. Like, I think I'm not trying to pat all of us on the back at all. Like, it's a busy time for everyone,
Pass.
anything, but like you have people coming and like taking time out of their day because they are passionate about sharing their experience and like want to help. And there are countless like Wake Forest grads, current students, whomever, who will reach out to me. I'll reach back out and then I never hear from them. I'm like, okay, like that's fine. I get it. But like just take advantage of the connections. I wish I took so much more advantage of it. Like I should have gone to every single event. I should have gone to every single lunch and learn. Um, yes, I know pizza gets boring, but like I think it's just like the best opportunity to talk to people. And I think that's how I figured out um, why I wanted to be in marketing or advertising, and like finding out what account management meant instead of just like a media role was literally because I spoke to people and heard about their stories. And like, even if you're not in the mood to like be the person to ask a question, which is fine, like just being there and listening, I think was so important for me. So Liz, great question. I wish I went to more. I wish I did more outside of just being in class.
Anyone have anything else to add? Chastity, you did take a digital marketing class. Was it helpful?
I would say with the rotation that I'm in now, yes, because I'm working on more of the, again, digital side of things. So I'm looking at like Spotify metrics and TikTok metrics and just all of the digital service platforms right now, and how they translate into revenue for us. And so yes, those digital marketing skills are very important right now. So I'll say yes.
Morgan, anything to add?
I would say something like, I wish I would have done more when I was younger. In the program was definitely, I think I was nervous about networking sometimes, or nervous about reaching out to past alumni or to, different. I think when you're young, you feel like you're not bothering anybody. Please reach out to get more information. Again, like Sarah and I's roles were very different 10 years ago. So they've evolved over time. And so getting information about roles that may not be in a textbook just yet, or that people don't know too much about from product marketing or anything like that, like just asking questions, don't be afraid, and really just put yourself out there for sure.
That's a really good point, Morgan. And Liz, thanks for prompting that question. It's a really fantastic question. I will say to all of you who are still on the call that the Wake Forest Network is fierce. It is fierce, and they will move mountains to help you. They want to help you because you know why? Somebody helped them. Somebody helped them. And so it's a gift when people reach out and are asked to help, not just to participate on a panel like this. They really want that connection with students and fellow alums so they can help educate them. Can they give you a job? Maybe, maybe not, but they can give you information and they can give you advice and they can give you another connection who might lead to a job. So, gosh, really fantastic content here. And I can't thank you all enough for participating. But I want to give, it looks like TD has a question about AI. Oh, great question. How is AI and other technology changing your business? Ooh.
It's disrupting everything.
Mhm.
Tell
But
us
it's
more. Tell us
but-
more. We'll end on
no,
this.
but it's good. It's good. So I mean, I'm in the accounting role, like the traditional accountant, and what I can say is that data is changing everything about what we do. So there's more visibility into the underlying data. There's more analyzing the data in an intelligent way, not just a like cursory glance, oh, we have revenue and expenses of X and Y, and there's our net income and woohoo. Like there's more to it. There's more what I'll call non-financial data that can be tagged to financial data that then gives somebody a better picture about how are you spending your money? Why are you spending it that way? Is that the most economical decision to be making? So I think it's great, but it also does mean that there's new challenges. And at the end of the day, the biggest challenge that my company faces is just processing that data. We have so much of it, and we have all these great ideas about these reports and dashboards and things that we want. But what the high level executives sometimes lose sight of, because it's not part of their day to day, is just the transactional side and everything that has to be captured at that level in order for you to have these great dashboards. Um, so it's something we're working through. It's something that people are like, oh, AI is going to make everything better. I'm like, oh, there's still the capturing of data at the front end, and the work that has to go into making sure that that's right. So yeah, that's the accounting answer for right now.
Anyone else?
I would say in the creative side, we're using AI to predict which creative will do best in our algorithm. We're using it to see how it will get in front of the most people. We use AI for scripting of videos a lot of times, or images to see which image is going to do the best. It's a lot of beta testing. So that's how we're kind of using it over here.
I think in the music side, AI is definitely a frenemy to us, because we're trying to find ways to definitely monetize it and not take the likeness of our artists, or, take content that's unlicensed. And so that's been a very difficult thing for the music industry to tackle, especially on TikTok. But I think it is an ever-changing landscape that we're just trying to navigate in real time. And there are so many panels and things that I've been to, that because it's just such a prominent thing right now, and it's so new. So yeah, just trying to figure it all out.
Well, even in career services, we're just trying to figure it all out. Sarah, anything from your end?
Uh, yeah, I mean, I get an email a day about like join this AI meeting, review how it's affecting our company, how it's affecting the landscape. Rakuten is a much larger corporation outside of just cash back on shopping. So it has much larger effects across the board. For at a very tactical level, I work with a lot of art directors, designers, copywriters, and there are a lot of media agencies out there that are offering up like creative to be done strictly by AI. So I know that we're constantly trying to prove the value of why it's important to have these like creative strategic thinkers behind even the tiniest little digital ad. But now with search and a lot of these like Google display networks and all of that, we're testing AI to see. And with our email, like email is our biggest, marketing lever to our members. So we're doing a lot of AI with subject lines. So we're dipping our toes in the water on the creative side with a lot of copywriting, and speaking to those audiences. And it's a great tool because you can change everything 100 million different ways automatically instead of manually. So there's definitely a value, but it's a fine line, especially in the creative world.
Yeah. Yeah. I use it a lot of times to help me write content to advertise just things like this. All right. How do we sign up for Rakuten? We'll end on that.
Oh my goodness. I'm not going to do this because this is like ridiculous. I'm not going to do my referral code and everything. But if you have a friend who is a Rakuten member, when you sign up with their link, you get $30 and your friend gets $30. So all you have to do is go to Rakuten.com. It's free, name, email. And the biggest thing this week, which again, this is going to go on YouTube. It's fine. We're already advertising it. Every day this week for the next 10 days, we're calling it the big cashback unwrap. And there's huge cashback at one big brand a day. So this week there's Ulta at like 20% cashback, Derm Store, PetSmart, Disney Store, I think Skechers,
Wow.
huge amounts of cash back leading up to Black Friday. So like now is the time to sign up.
We're going to do it.
I won't even send my referral code. I won't even send it.
You
Don't need.
can. If you text it to me, I'll use your referral code.
Okay, sure. I'll
Okay.
text it to you.
Okay.
You
All
and then
right.
you send it.
Thank you
Okay.
guys so much. I'll let you get back to your lives. It's probably pretty late in London. Still got some runway in front of you, Sarah, over on the West Coast. But thank you guys. It's been an absolute delight to see your faces. I miss you. And come back to see us really soon. And I'll ask you again.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thanks,
Bye,
Thank
guys.
guys.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.